Welcome to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska, an independent journalist from Melbourne, Australia. Today is the 4th of June, 2024. We are continuing our series on the Macedonian question, and in particular the PRESPA agreement as cultural genocide of the Macedonian national identity towards the termination of an illegal treaty by Professor Dr. IGOR JANEV. We have now reached the stage of Annex B, and its title is Legislative Modifications. The parties will take all necessary measures to ensure the adoption of the legislative changes set forth hereafter within the time limits specified. 1. Law on local self-government. The Assembly shall adopt within 45 days from the signing of the framework agreement a revised law on local self-government. This revised law shall in no respect be less favourable to the units of local self-government and their autonomy than the draft law proposed by the government of the Republic of Macedonia in March 2001. The law shall include competencies relating to the subject matters set forth in Section 3.1 of the Framework Agreement as additional independent competencies of the units of local self-government and shall conform to Section 6.6 of the Framework Agreement. In addition, the law shall provide that any state standards or procedures established in any laws concerning areas in which municipalities have independent competencies shall be limited to those which cannot be established as effectively at the local level. Such laws shall further promote the municipalities' independent exercise of their competencies. 2. Law on local finance. The Assembly shall adopt by the end of the term of the present Assembly a law on local self-government finance to ensure that the units of local self-government have sufficient resources to carry out their tasks under the revised law on local self-government. In particular, the law shall enable and make reasonable units of local self-government for raising a substantial amount of tax revenue, provide for the transfer to the units, provide to the transfer, where are we? I think we might have skipped a page here. Bear with me. Yeah. Provide for the transfer to the units of law of local self-government of a part of centrally raised taxes that corresponds to the functions of the units of local self-government, and that takes account of the collection of taxes on their territories, and ensure the budgetary autonomy and responsibility of the units of local self-government within their areas of competence. Number 3, law on municipal boundaries. The Assembly shall adopt by the end of 2002 a revised law on municipal boundaries, taking into account the results of the census and the relevant guidelines set forth in the law of local self-government. 4. Laws pertaining to police located in the municipalities. The Assembly shall adopt before the end of the term of the present Assembly provisions ensuring that each local head of police is selected by the council of the municipality concerned from a list of not fewer than 3 candidates proposed by the Ministry of the Interior, among whom at least 1 candidate should belong to the community in the majority in the municipality. In the event the municipal council fails to select any of the candidates proposed within 15 days, the Ministry of the Interior shall propose a second list of not fewer than 3 new candidates, among whom at least 1 candidate should belong to the community in the majority in the municipality. If the municipal council again fails to select any of the candidates proposed within 15 days, the Minister of the Interior, after consultation with the government, shall select the local head of police from among the 2 lists of candidates proposed by the Ministry of the Interior, as well as 3 additional candidates proposed by the municipal council. That each local head of the police informs regularly and upon request the council of the municipality concerned. that a municipal council may make recommendations to the local head of police in areas including public security and traffic safety, and that a municipal council may adopt annually a report regarding matters of public safety, which shall be addressed to the Minister of the Interior and the Public Attorney or the Ombudsman. 5. Laws on the civil service and public administration. The Assembly shall adopt by the end of the term of the present Assembly amendments to the laws on the civil service and public administration to ensure equitable representation of communities in accordance with Section 4.2 of the Framework Agreement. 6. Law on electoral districts. The Assembly shall adopt by the end of 2002 a revised law on electoral districts, taking into account the results of the census and the principles set forth in the law on the election of members to the Parliament of the Republic of Macedonia. 7. Rules of the Assembly. The Assembly shall amend by the end of the term of the present Assembly its rules of procedure to enable the use of the Albanian language in accordance with Section 6.5 of the Framework Agreement. Paragraph 8 below and the relevant amendments to the Constitution set forth in Annex A. Now, talking about Albanian language and the Republic of Macedonia. Enabling the use of Albanian language in accordance with da-da-da-da and the relevant amendments to the Constitution set forth in Annex A. 8. Laws pertinent to the use of languages. The Assembly shall adopt by the end of the term of the present Assembly new legislation regulating the use of languages in the organs of the Republic of Macedonia. This legislation shall provide that representatives may address plenary sessions and working bodies of the Assembly in languages referred to in Article 7, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the Constitution as amended in accordance with Annex A. Laws shall be published in the languages referred to in Article 7, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the Constitution, as amended in accordance with Annex A. And all public officials may write their names in the alphabet of any language referred to in Article 7, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the Constitution, as amended in accordance with Annex A on any official documents. Now, this has been happening in the period prior to 2002, and it appears that the deadline is 2002. We are now in 2024. The Assembly shall adopt by the end of the term of the present Assembly new legislation on the issuance of personal documents. The Assembly shall amend by the end of the term of the present Assembly all relevant laws to make their provisions on the use of languages fully compatible with Section 6 of the Framework Agreement. 9. Law on the Public Attorney. The Assembly shall amend by the end of 2002 the law on public attorney, as well as other relevant laws to ensure that the public attorney shall undertake actions to safeguard the principles of non-discrimination and equitable representation of communities in public bodies at all levels and in other areas of public life, and that there are adequate resources and personnel within this office to enable him to carry out this function. His office, it's assumed it's a male, could be a female, but I think it's a male. That the public attorney establishes decentralized offices. That the budget of the public attorney is voted separately by the Assembly. That the public attorney shall present an annual report to the Assembly and, where appropriate, may upon request present reports to the councils of municipalities in which decentralized offices are established, and that the powers of the public attorney are enlarged. To grant to him access to and the opportunity to examine all official documents, it being understood that the public attorney and his staff will not disclose confidential information. To enable the public attorney to suspend, pending a decision of the competent court, the execution of an administrative act if he determines that the act may result in an irreparable prejudice to the rights of the interested person, and to give the public attorney the right to contest the conformity of laws with the Constitution before the Constitutional Court. 10. Other laws. The Assembly shall elect all legislative provision, I beg your pardon, the Assembly shall enact all legislative provisions that may be necessary to give full effect to the framework agreement and to amend or abrogate all provisions incompatible with the framework agreement. So that was Annex B. Moving on to Annex C, title Implementation and Confidence Building Measures. 1. International Support. 1.1. The parties invite the international community to facilitate, monitor, and assist in the implementation of the provisions of the framework agreement and its annexes, and request such efforts to be coordinated by who? By the European Union in cooperation with the Stabilization and Association Council, whoever that might be. But let's read this again. 1. International support. 1.1. The parties invite the international community to facilitate, monitor, and assist in the implementation of the provisions of the framework agreement and its annexes, and request such efforts to be coordinated by the EU in cooperation with the Stabilization and Association Council. In other words, foreign powers to be interfering in the Republic of Macedonia, political and all other facets of life. Number 2, census and elections. The parties confirm the request for international supervision by the Council of Europe, again, Council of Europe, and the European Commission, oh yes, of a census to be conducted in October 2001. 23 years ago, almost. The parties confirmed the request for international supervision by the Council of Europe and the European Commission of a census to be conducted in October 2001. 2.2, parliamentary elections will be held by 27th of January 2002 or 2002. International organizations, including OSCE, will be invited to observe these elections. 3, refugee return, rehabilitation and reconstruction. 3.1, all parties will work to ensure the return of refugees who are citizens or legal residents of Macedonia and displaced persons to their homes within the shortest possible time frame, and invite the international community and in particular UNHCR to assist in these efforts. Again, we see interference by foreign powers. 3.2, the government, with the participation of the parties, will complete an action plan within 30 days after the signature of the framework agreement for rehabilitation of and reconstruction in areas affected by the hostilities, by the war that was waged against the Macedonian people. Yeah, that's how it should be best described, according to your journalist here. Hostilities is a war. Yeah, not very accurate reflection of what was going on during that period of time. The parties invite the international community to assist in the formulation and implementation of this plan. 3.3, the parties invite the European Commission, not again, and the World Bank. Why the World Bank? To rapidly convene a meeting of international donors after adoption in the Assembly of the constitutional amendments in Annex A. So this is the condition. So once these signatures are placed on this framework agreement, then Macedonia ought to invite the EC, the European Commission, but not only them, the World Bank as well, the World Bank, to rapidly convene a meeting, rapid means rapid, quick, immediate. In other words, convene a meeting of international donors. Who might they be, I wonder, after adoption in the Assembly of the constitutional amendments in Annex A and the revised law on local self-government, to support the financing of measures to be taken for the purpose of implementing the framework agreement and its annexes, including measures to strengthen local self-government and reform the police services, to address macro-financial assistance to the Republic of Macedonia, and to support the rehabilitation and reconstruction measures identified in the action plan identified in paragraph 3.2. So they create a war, then they put together a so-called framework agreement, And then they appear as if they are going to be the supporters. They'll be helping the country. Really? I don't know. I find that hard to believe. Yeah. 4, there is a vested interest, of course, is the implication of what I'm saying here. 4, development of decentralized government. 4.1, the parties invite the international community. Here we go again, inviting the international community interference from European Union and others to assist in the process of strengthening local self-government, as if the Macedonian people don't know what to do themselves. Do they? The international community should in particular assist in preparing the necessary legal amendments related to financing. Well, indeed, they have done that before even Macedonia requested that. They'd already prepared everything. The international community assisting or not in preparing the necessary legal amendments related to financing mechanisms for strengthening and financial bases of municipalities and building their financial management capabilities. Is it strengthening or weakening? Yeah. And in amending the law on the boundaries of municipalities. So you can see all this has been preordained, as it were, prepared in advance, ready to be dished out to the Macedonian population and the government of the day. 5, non-discrimination and equitable representation. 5.1, taking into account, that is, the recommendations of the already established governmental commission, they say, the parties will take concrete action to increase the representation of members of communities not in the majority in Macedonia in public administration, military, public enterprises, as well as to improve their access to public financing for business development. Well, that's exactly what they've done and more, because they've given the Albanian population, allegedly having 20% representation in the Republic of Macedonia, to have jobs in the public administration, jobs that they sometimes don't attend, but they get paid for it. Or if they do attend, they don't know what they're doing. And yet they are receiving taxpayer money in the form of wages. Same thing in the military, in other public enterprises. And of course, they have had enormous access to public financing for business development. 5.2, the parties commit themselves to ensuring that the police services will by 2004 generally reflect the composition and distribution of the population of Macedonia. So there we have that deadline by 2004 that the police services will have, huge representation from the Albanian so-called community that resides in Macedonia. But do the Macedonians in Albania have got that representation? Yeah, distribution, composition of the population of Macedonia. No, they don't. If you know your history, you'll know very well they're not being looked after. In fact, it's quite the opposite. As initial steps toward this end, the parties commit to ensuring that 500 new police officers, so they have identified a number, 500 new police officers from the Albanian community, not in the majority in the population, that is the Albanian community of Macedonia, will be hired and trained by July 2002. See the urgency of it all. 500, the figure's been identified. How come? Where from? What's the evidence? What are the facts and the statistics? What's the research? And that these officers will be deployed to the areas where such communities live. In other words, they will be employed in Tetovo, Gostivar, those regions in the municipalities around Skopje, where there was a war, and in other places where the Albanians waged a war. The parties further commit that 500 additional, another 500 such officers will be hired and trained by July 2003. So within 12 months, from July 2002 to July 2003, another 500 people from the Albanian community to be trained as police officers, and that those officers will be deployed on a priority basis to the areas throughout Macedonia where such community live. So that's 1,000 police officers of Albanian ethnicity and Albanian-speaking background residing in Macedonia who appear to have more rights than the Macedonian people themselves. So in other words, a minority has more rights than the majority of the population, and they are not coming from that part of the world. Their background is from Albania. The parties invite the international community. Again, we've got getting involvement from the international community, whether Macedonia likes it or not. But this is what this document says, that Macedonia should invite the international community to support and assist with the implementation of these commitments, in particular through screening and selection of candidates and their training. The parties invite OSCE, goodness me, more foreign powers. So I'll read this again. The parties invite, this is like an order, like an instruction. The parties invite the OSCE, the European Union and the United States, USA, to send an expert team as quickly as possible in order to assess how best to achieve these objectives. What's the reasoning behind inviting all those people? 5.3, the parties also invite the OSCE, the European Union, and the United States to increase training. So there we go, foreign powers again, having their fingers into the training and assistance programs for police, including professional human rights and other training, technical assistance for police reform, including assistance in screening, selection, and promotion processes, developmental of a code of police conduct, cooperation with respect to transition planning for hiring and deployment of police officers from communities not in the majority in Macedonia, and deployment as soon as possible of international monitors. Again, interference from international monitors and police advisors in sensitive areas under appropriate arrangements with relevant authorities. Well, you see here that this so-called international communities of foreign powers being involved and heavily involved, not just in police, but in other areas as well, and dictating the terms upon which Macedonia should carry out these things. 5.4, the parties invite the international community to assist in the training of lawyers, judges, and prosecutors from members of communities not in the majority in Macedonia in order to be able to increase their representation in the judicial system. They've certainly done that, and it's part of the corruption system that's been created since then that they don't seem to know how to solve. 6, culture, education, and use of languages. The parties invite the international community, including the OSCE, to increase its assistance for projects in the area of media. So here we go, we got the media now, in order to further strengthen radio, TV and print media, including the Albanian language and multi-ethnic media. So this is a push for the Albanian people residing in Macedonia, who are not indigenous people of the country of Macedonia, of the state of Macedonia, of the previous kingdom of Macedonia, to have more power than they have in their own country of Albania, or if they come from the Kosovo region. And this is direct interference, Silvana is saying, in the media, in radio, TV, print media, and encouraging Albanians to form their own media and to talk in their own language, even though they are people residing, guests or migrants to Macedonia itself. The parties also invite the international community to increase professional media training programs for members of communities not in the majority in Macedonia. So it's all designed to help the Albanian population. The parties also invite OSCE to continue its efforts on projects designed to improve inter-ethnic relations. We see now that this framework agreement is very much a one-sided agreement, and it's based on something that most likely is not a fact. That is the census figures, the 20%, alleged 20% of the population being of Albanian descent. If you had such a percentage in a country like Australia. Do you think the Australian government will give another ethnic group residing in Australia all these concessions, all these rights that the Republic of Macedonia has given to the Albanian population in Macedonia? 6.2, the parties invite the international community to provide assistance for the implementation of the framework agreement in the area of higher education. So now we're looking at the higher education, that is the universities and the TAFE colleges. So again, international community or foreign powers interfering in and making sure that the framework agreement is implemented. In other words, their agreement, what they've put together, be implemented by the Republic of Macedonia. And of course, the Albanians are grateful for that because that was their aim and objective in the first place anyway. Statement on initiating of framework agreement. Initialing, I beg your pardon. I'll read this again. Statement on initialing of framework agreement. We, the initialed, and our representatives have initialed, okay, so initialed a framework agreement and 3 annexes. We each shall sign the framework agreement on the 13th of August 2001 in Skopje, thereby bringing the agreement into force on that date. In other words, it becomes effective from the 13th of August 2001. This agreement brings to a successful conclusion the political dialogue under the auspices of President Trajkovski. Now, how many of you knew of this agreement and the signing of the agreement and its implementation? Its validity since the 13th of August 2001, I certainly didn't. Signature, and then we've got Boris Trajkovski, President of the Republic of Macedonia. He has signed that document. Ljubcho Georgievski is also another signatory, President of VMRO DPMNE, and Aber Jaferi, President of the Democratic Party of Albanians in Macedonia. Signatures, their signatures are there. Branko Crvenkovski, President of the Social Democratic President of the Party for Democratic Union of Macedonia. So we got Branko Crvenkovski and Imer Imeri, witness by, signature by the witness, 2 witness signatures, Francois Leotard, special representative of the European Union. So he's the EU's representative, Francois Leotard. And James Pardue, you will remember him. He's the special representative of the USA. They were the witnesses. So they were there already making sure this document is signed. Well, so we end this, the content of this publication, the PRESPA agreement as cultural genocide of the Macedonian national identity towards the termination of an illegal treaty by Professor Dr. Igor JANEV, published late 2023. In the back section of the book, all the references are listed. I will not be going through them. You're welcome to check if you can find this book on Google or any other browser that you might be operating. And I urge you to also follow Professor Dr. Igor Janev's postings, whether they're on Facebook or YouTube or any interviews he does with any of the media in Macedonia or any other overseas media organization. Okay. So, all right. We have a website here, which I will share with you. You may wish to check that website. It's www.arg.co.rs. So I'll repeat that again, www.arg, I beg your pardon, start again, www.agmknjiga.co.rs. I remind you that Professor Dr. Igor Janev is an expert on international law and an author of many books related to that area, formerly also an advisor to the government on international law and matters related to international law. So thank you so much for being so attentive to this most important publication from Professor Dr. Igor JANEV. It's taken us quite a few weeks to bring this to your attention, and I'm very pleased to have been able to do so. We are also grateful to Professor Dr. Igor JANEV for giving us the permission to broadcast this publication to you, bringing it to your attention in the public domain so that you are aware of what all the facts, the truth is, as this has been a thoroughly researched document, and thus far we have not, we're not aware of any challenges to the opinions that Professor Dr. Igor JANEV provides in this very comprehensive document. Our wish is that you will be able to listen to the previous programs related to this topic, that you will ask questions, write letters to whoever you want to write to. You may wish to write to the President of Macedonia, the current new President of Macedonia, or the Prime Minister once he gets elected into government. I'm sure they will take on your opinion. They'll read your letters, however you send them, via email or through the media, social media, or some other way. And I'm hoping that what has been wronged could be righted. And the Macedonian people deserve better than all these international so-called countries or international communities or foreign powers, in my view, interfering in the lives of the Macedonian people, interfering in how they govern their country, a country that has existed for a millennia and knows very well how to look after itself, should there be no interference from outside. However, we do know that their powers to be or are have their fingers into the pie and in that region, because it is a pie, particularly that geopolitical area. So let's hope there will be peace and there will be unity, and Macedonia will come out of the doldrums and stand on its own firm feet and take action for its own destiny. Thank you once again, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again very soon with another series dedicated to the Macedonian people, to its culture, to its language, to its customs, and much, much more. Silvana Pavlovska with In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska, wishing you all the best. See you soon.